Hello everybody and welcome today to the next GradCracker webinar with Lloyds Banking Group. So Lloyds is the UK's largest retail and digital bank. I'm really looking forward to introducing you to Sarah, Emerging Talent Programme Manager, software engineering graduate Jenny. We're meant to be joined by Ruffy, but his connection's dropped out, so Ruffy might appear mid-webinar, and software engineering industrial placement students Holly and Jordan. So thanks very much everybody for joining us today. So Holly and Jordan will give us an explanation into the placement, what it's like to be placement students. And Jenny on her own now is 5 weeks into being a software engineering graduate at Lloyds. So she'll tell us what it's been like so far. So what I'm going to do, Sarah, is I'm going to start with you. Could you just introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So I'm Sarah. I am one of the group's Emerging Talent Programme Managers. So I guess my role is to work with various divisions across the group to help them to shape, deliver and manage their emerging talent offerings with the purpose of, I guess, creating opportunities across the group to build key skills that we know are going to be needed in the future, and also aligned to the group's the group strategy of helping Britain recover. So this could be anything from our graduate opportunities, industrial placements, apprenticeship opportunities, amongst other things.
So you get involved with everything early careers?
Yes, anything early careers. Yeah.
No problem at all. And I know that everybody will have heard of Lloyds, it's a household name, but could you just give everybody a bit of an overview to who Lloyds is in general?
Yeah, so I guess you've already mentioned the fact that I guess Lloyds Banking Group is one of the UK's largest retail and digital bank. I guess one of the key focuses across Lloyds at the moment is really trying to embrace new technologies to better meet the needs of our customers, with that purpose that I spoke about there of helping Britain recover. So we've got a lot of brands that sit within the sort of Lloyds Banking Group banner, and they span every aspect of banking and finance, including some of the biggest names on the high street, like your Bank of Scotland, Halifax, Lloyds Bank, Scottish Widows, for example. And our footprint, I guess, touches nearly every community and household across the UK. So we've got about 30 million customers and roughly about 60,000 colleagues in the group.
Wow, big numbers. And from students watching the webinar today, Sarah, so would they predominantly be based in the UK, or is the opportunities to travel and maybe move abroad?
It would be UK based, yeah. So I guess with our purpose of helping Britain prosper, I think that's one of the kind of key things that we focus on. So, but yeah, there's an opportunity to be based. We've got hubs all over the UK as well. So some of them are, the majority are pretty flexible at the moment. Obviously, with the pandemic over the last 18 months, there are a number of hubs across the UK. So I think there would be the opportunity to consider working from particular hubs or working from home. And yeah, so there's more information via the sort of GradCracker website, where you can obviously click through to our website as well on that type of thing.
Perfect. So thank you very much. And I know that you've mentioned about prospering of Britain and everything else, and I've noticed that you've got some really good, promising quarterly results that we released today. So yeah, you're doing well, moving the Britain forward, should we say? So what we're going to do now is move on to Holly and Jordan, if that's okay with you two. So you're currently studying at university. Could you just tell the audience about what you're studying and which university you are studying at? And Holly, I'm going to come to you first.
Hi, yeah, so I'm studying at the University of Manchester, and I'm doing a joint honours degree in Maths and Computer Science.
Perfect, thank you very much, Holly. Manchester's one of our friendly universities. Yeah. And Jordan, on to you. So which university and what you study?
Okay, everyone. So I'm also in University of Manchester, and I'm studying computer science as well.
Super, thank you very much.
So did you know each other before then?
Yeah.
We actually didn't, but well, I heard of you, but we hadn't we hadn't met in person.
Oh, well, Jordan. Jordan's like, well, I knew of you, Holly. Well, now you know each other. And Jenny, so you're a recent grad. I mentioned right at the beginning that you'd been with Lloyds for 5 weeks. So just tell everybody about where you went to university and also what you studied.
So I went to the University of Leeds and I studied aeronautical and aerospace engineering with an industrial placement.
That's a bit of a difference, isn't it? You'd think,
yeah,
you kind of think like computer science and analytics and maths, maybe joining Lloyds. But tell us about that change then. So why did you decide to join Lloyds?
So I wanted to move over to software engineering from kind of aero engineering, because on my placement year, I basically gave myself a target to start learning Python, and my company and team were really like encouraging with that. And then as I was going through, I was like, "Ooh, this actually seems like a bit of me."
Yeah.
So I kind of like my 4th year of uni when I went back, I basically nagged all of my my supervisors to let me use Python instead of MATLAB and stuff like that. And then I just decided that I was going to go for it and apply for a software engineering role rather than an aerospace role. And here we are.
And here we are, and the rest is history.
Jenny, if you don't mind me asking, because it's just a really good point there, what you're saying is about, you know, it's just highlighting the point, the importance of the placement, you know, how you can gain experience and it opens you up to a world of opportunity, which you might never have considered before if you didn't get that placement.
Exactly.
And again, I've done so many sessions this week speaking to students saying exactly the same thing. So I just really want to highlight that point for any students, again, might never have considered Lloyds Banking Group before, and you know, consider it, because again, it could open up a whole world of opportunity, which you might not have considered at the beginning of your degree. So yeah, just want to highlight that point.
Yeah.
Quite common now, isn't it, that people do that and can transition and move over.
Exactly. And I think it's especially the fact that when you choose your degree, if you're doing a bachelor's, perhaps that was 3 years ago or 4 years ago even, because you have to go through the application process to uni, like that's quite a long time. And once you've gone through your degree, you might still enjoy it, but you might not know that there's many other places that it can be applied to. So I would not have gone into my industry year thinking that I'd come out knowing a bit of programming or liking it even. So to do that and then find it opened up a whole new area for me, like it was a really, really worthwhile year.
And that's the key thing, you know, when students listening today after this session go on to GradCrack, when they're going down the search, you know, consider all the employers. There's a reason why we're showing you these jobs. It might not be discipline relevant. You might not think, you know, why they're showing me this, but we're showing it because the employer wants to recruit from your discipline. So consider everyone. But no, it's just a great point. So thanks, Jenny, for saying that.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. Rufi, are you there?
Hello. Hi.
Hi. Hello. How are you? You okay?
Hi. I'm good. Yeah. Just went pitch black in my house for a second there, but I'm back.
We've introduced you, Rufi, anyway, just in case you came back. So, this is Rufi. Obviously, he's been with Lloyds for 5 weeks, similar to Jenny. So, Rufi, could you just tell everybody about where you went to university and what you studied, because you are now a graduate?
Yeah, so I did computer science with a year in industry at the University of York. So, you know, and I work at Lloyds Banking Group now, as mentioned, over in Manchester. I'm here in Manchester. You know, I've lived here my whole life, so it's you know, really nice to sort of come back to, you know, where I grew up and, you know, be working here within the group.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice to have somebody from York Uni, because GradCrack is actually based near York. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, close to our hearts, close to home. Right, so where am I going now? Right, quick fact round. I'm trying to remember where I am with everybody. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a quick fire fact round. And I'm going to start with you, Jordan. Can I have your fact, please?
Yes, of course. So in 1677, when there were no house numbers, usually businesses used distinctive signs so customers can find them easier. And the black horse that is so iconic with Lloyds was first used in 1677, and it was hung above the goldsmith of Humphrey Stokes, which later on was inherited by Lloyds in 1884, and since then it's been used by the bank.
I like that.
Love the adverts.
And is that yeah, it's one on the speech, isn't it?
Yeah.
Holly, on to you. Quick fact, please.
Mine is that Davina McCall was here the other week doing a talk on like women's health and stuff. So cool to have a celebrity here.
Yeah, I like that idea. Jenny?
Lloyds Bank actually installed the world's first online real-time ATM in 1972.
And tell the audience about free money, and then I'll tell them about free ale.
No, we won't go there.
And Rufi, on to you.
Yeah, so at Lloyds Bank, we actually use every single cloud provider that there is. So we use IBM, AWS, Google Cloud Platform, and Azure within these sort of systems at Lloyds. So if you've got expertise in one of them, there'll be a place for you here.
Oh, I like it. Thanks. And Sarah, you're going to give us two. I really want your personal one, so we'll do your Lloyds one first, and then we'll do your personal one after.
I'll do my Lloyds one first. Okay, yeah. So I guess Lloyds Banking Group itself, as the umbrella term, was formed in 2009, but it's much older than that, and there's a huge amount of history across all the different parts of the group. So it goes right back into 1695 when the Bank of Scotland branch, our first bank was opened. I think it was the first bank ever in Scotland. So yeah, I guess there's lots of history to learn about if anyone's interested in that as well. There's lots of information to look at.
Yeah.
And on my personal fact. Yeah, because I did too. Was that Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling was my French teacher when I was at high school many moons ago, before she wrote Harry Potter, or as she was writing Harry Potter, I think. So none of us really knew the impact of what she was going to do at the time. But yeah,
that is one claim. That is one claim to fame.
That is good, isn't it? I had to not know. Some of those characters could have been based on you guys. You never know.
Yeah. I can't relate them to anyone specifically, but yeah, no, it was interesting. I just wish we'd paid more attention when she was telling us about the fact that she was writing a book that was going to get published. But yeah.
Imagine if Sarah turned around and said, I'm actually a wizard. So what we're going to do now, same with you actually, Sarah, could you tell the students a bit about what's on offer with Lloyds this year? Obviously, you advertise all of your placement and graduate opportunities on your hub on GradCracker, but just give the students a bit of a flavour about what's out there.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I guess we've got a software engineering industrial placement programme, which I know that we've already touched on as well. We've also got a number of graduate programmes available. So we've got software engineering, we've got data science for those of you obviously on the tech side, and then we also offer commercial banking, finance, risk, sustainable financial well-being. So I guess we've got something there for everyone really. And all of our graduate programmes, all of our opportunities are open to anyone who I guess who's on track or has a 2-2 degree or above, and it can be from any degree discipline. So just going back to that point earlier, we look at potential rather than kind of the experience that you've got. So it doesn't necessarily need to be from a particular discipline. And the only thing would be for our tech programs, so for our data science and software engineering programs, that you do need to have some existing coding knowledge before you apply. But yeah, generally any degree discipline is suitable. So.
When you say coding knowledge, Sarah, could it be just something that you do, in your private time, or does it have to be like for example, a module that you studied at university?
Exactly. No, it doesn't have to be any formal qualifications or anything like that. It could be someone, for example, who's maybe done an English degree but has taught themselves coding in their spare time. So absolutely no kind of formal qualifications or anything required in that space.
Fabulous. So 2-2 achieved or expected or above, and any STEM degree. So everybody who's watching this,
everyone can apply.
Everybody can apply. So make sure you watch this webinar and get your applications in. Just in terms again, Sarah, of timelines and expectations. Obviously, what me and Jess are always saying to the students: don't wait until the last minute. Don't wait until the deadline. But just give us an idea about when your deadlines are and when you're expected to hold assessment centres and everything else.
Yeah. So I guess I won't provide any specific dates on here because the closing dates all vary across all of the different programmes. So what I suggest is go into the GradCracker hub and click through from there into sort of each of the different programmes, and that will give you the more specific dates for each of the programmes. So I think some are closing in the next few weeks. So like you say, get your applications in as soon as possible to make sure that you don't miss out on anything. And in terms of assessment centres, I think these are likely to kick off sometime in January, I think. So yeah, I guess depending on which stream you apply for or which programme you apply for, the date will vary obviously, but overall they will kick off sometime in January and sort of run for a couple of months after that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sarah. So get your applications in.
Yeah. So onto your roles. So Holly and Jordan, I'm going to talk a bit about your placement experience so far, and if you can kind of tell us all a bit about, what the placement has consisted of. So Holly, I'll come to you first, and if you could just tell us a bit about your role in the placement.
Yeah, so I'm on the software engineering placement, and I started the end of June, so I've been there like 4 months. So my role within my team, I'm in group transformation in retail. So it's all about just developing the tech and, you know, making it better. So I'm like a developer in my team, so I work with other software engineers to code different applications and write tests and get feedback and work with like business analysts and stuff to work on a big project together.
Brilliant. And what does kind of a day-to-day look like for you? So are you in the office? Are you working from home? And how big are your teams and things like that?
So at the minute, we're still kind of transitioning back to the office. So I go into the office every Wednesday to see my team, and we do most of our collaborative meetings there. And then the rest of the days are working from home, and we use Teams calls and stuff to have a catch up and connect with each other. And then the rest of the day is either maybe working on a test script for some code or doing some UI screens. Yeah, just a few meetings in between of coding is the day to day.
Yeah. And how big are you?
They kind of vary, but the one that I'm in has about 15 people, and that's split between half engineers and half, we call it the shaping team, so that's kind of the business side. But yeah, about 15 in mine.
Okay, interesting. And then is that a mix of you know, graduates, senior people, or is it everyone that's just on a placement?
No, I'm the only placement student in there, so I've kind of just been joined to like a team that was already existing, and there's some offshore people, so some people that are working from India are in our team, and then obviously some people that I meet, and I'm based in Manchester in the office here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I meet half of those and then half dial in remotely when we go to the office.
Fantastic, brilliant. Every time I talk.
I think, Holly, could you put yourself on mute so then we don't get back? Thank you, love.
Sorry, Holly, I don't think that works. It's me. Jordan, come to you next. Same question. Tell us a bit about your placement and what you've been up to.
Yeah, so the placement has been going really good now. It's exactly 4 months since I started. And I'm part of group transformation again in retail. And I'm working in a customer contact team. So our work is mostly based around providing new platform that is based for servicing customers who are calling to the bank and getting the best possible service they can get.
Brilliant. Okay. And it seemed as though both your roles really seem quite very technical. I'm guessing, you know, from the experiences that you've gained so far, do you feel like you've upskilled yourself in your technical abilities so far? Have you got a lot of experience and knowledge from the placement? Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have almost every day, 8 hours a day to work on that. And it's really technically focused. So most of the things that we're doing, at least for me, that I'm doing day from day, is connected to coding and trying to improve the systems that I'm working on. Of course, there are other aspects where we have to find what is needed to be built, but most of the time is working with different technologies in order to make the project go forward. Yeah, definitely. And gaining these experiences then, you know, a bit like how Jenny and I were saying, that, you know, do you think this is the experiences that you've gained so far is going to help you when you go back to university in your final year? Do you think that a lot of the knowledge that you've gained is you're going to be able to apply to your university course? Can you see it being a benefit? Of course. I mean, all the if we ignore the technical knowledge that we are getting for the different systems that we are using, you get this confidence that you're able to tackle even tasks that in the beginning they're completely unfamiliar to you, and you can take everything from whenever and just make it work, which is amazing for the opportunity and the skills that we are building here in the placement program. Yeah, definitely. Holly, have you got anything to add to that about maybe your personal experience of the skills you've learned so far?
Yeah, honestly, even though we've only been here 4 months, I've learned so much because some of the software I'd never really heard of or used, and now I'm confidently doing it on my own. Obviously, I've got a lot of help and my team's been really good. Like, there's always people to help you. You just need to ask the question. But yeah, I've already learned so much, so I'm sure the rest of the year we'll learn 10 times more too.
Yeah, brilliant.
Nobody needs two Jessicas.
We don't, do we? God, no. What I was going to ask as well, Holly, or Jordan can answer this, in terms of if there's any students now that are thinking about going on placement, what kind of advice would you give to them, or, you know, hints and tips? You know, did you have any reservations before you went out, and how's the experience going now? And, you know, compared to how you felt before it happened? Jordan, come to you first, because every time I speak to Holly, you can hear me again.
Yeah, so the advice that I'll give is to be proactive and to seek for all the opportunities and the answers that you want to get, because yes, there are a lot of people that are helping, but sometimes you have to get your way to those people and actually ask the question in order to get whatever you want. And it's a must do, in my opinion. A placement is absolutely the best opportunity to have.
You got to put yourself out there, push the boundaries, definitely.
Yeah.
Holly, again, you've got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would completely agree with Jordan. I think it's such a worthwhile thing to do, because I wasn't too sure whether I wanted to do a placement year in general at the beginning. And now that I've started, I'm so glad I have, because even just the experience of putting what you learn at university into practice for a change, rather than it being just theory, is a really useful thing, and learning to work as a team in the proper working world is really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of studies that show as well, students that have gone out into industry are quite likely to go up a grade as well when they go into their final year, because again, they can apply all that knowledge you know, into the studies, and sometimes it, you know, can just click and can really help towards, you know, upping your performance. So win-win all round. So Jenny, I'm going to come to you next, and Rafi, just to talk a bit, you know, kind of similar questions. What are your roles at Lloyds? I know we've only been there a couple of months, but what's it like, and what can you share with us? So Jenny, come to you first.
Hi, so I am working in core platforms in group transformation in London. We're on 3 8-month rotations, so don't know where I'll be in the next one. But currently I'm working within kind of the retail team, and I work on a lot of apps to do with like fraud and disputes, and trying to ease that process for customers, so it's not a whole thing of you have to dial up the bank and stay on the phone on wait for 3 hours a day or something. It's like trying to make that as seamless as possible and really putting the customer first in that light. I think going back to your previous question to Holly and Jordan, though, I just wanted to add that I did a placement year and I came back, and as you said, I did find that my grades improved quite a lot. And I think it was because you kind of learn how to be proactive in a way, because you can, as Jordan was saying, like, you should be proactive in your internship year, but you really know how to hone it, and how to just, if something's been bugging you for 24 hours, ask someone and get a solution in the next 24 hours. Don't sit on it all week, you know, get things moving faster. You talk to your lecturers a lot better in more like a business way, and you end up kind of, you're better at timekeeping and all these things that you don't think necessarily when you go on to an internship year. So sorry, just had to say that.
No, that's perfect, Jenny. Honestly, I'll be using, you know, quotes and everything. I'll be like, come read, come and watch this, come watch this.
But I did find that it really helped my organization and my getting stuff done, because I also worked when I went back to my 4th year, and it just all sunk into one thing, and it was seamless almost. As for the job now, I'm glad that I did do that, because I've obviously had experience in an office environment. I kind of understand like how to find my way around team dynamics and stuff like that. So it really puts you a foot ahead, because you can start your grad scheme and just start from the get-go and hit the ground running. I think in the first week, my manager, not even the first couple of days, my manager was like, I've got this project for you, I've got this training for you, I've got this. And I think if I hadn't done my internship year, I would have been a bit like, oh, it seems too much all at once. But it's really good to feel like you're part of the team straight away, and I'm already picking up tickets and got projects going, and it's a really nice like way to start your job. You feel like you're bringing value from day one, not just, oh, you know, it's the grad, can they do the coffee run kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there is still that misconception, isn't there, that it could still be like that, even for a placement student. So it's great that, no, I definitely recommend you reiterating that point, because again, I think, you know, some people can think that, but the fact that you're getting responsibility straight away is really, really good. So
but it's not to be, sorry, it's not like scary responsibility either. I'd like to kind of clarify that. It's very much like they give you the work and they want you to feel like you have ownership of it and you have your autonomy, and you do. And it's great because you get to try all these different things and work on a big project. But if you ever need help, they will swarm. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone is ready to help you when you need it. So it's not a big, scary project. Oh my God, if I mess this up, the whole company's going down, you know.
It's all on your head, Jenny. No, that's good. That's really good. And it's great that you've got that support as well. You know, they give you enough space to be able to go off and do it. But if you need someone, they're there, which is great. That's a lovely thought as well.
Yes, before we move on to Ruffy, can I just mention something? Because I'm just a bit concerned that I know these placement opportunities are absolutely fantastic that you've all had, and you've all had this experience or having this experience. Now I'm just trying to put myself in the thought of somebody watching in, you know, who might be due to graduate in the next couple of months, who might not have done a placement, and I don't want those students to be worried either. You know, it's all experience. So maybe you haven't done it like a year in industry or a summer placement, anything that you have done, like Jess always says about, you know, being part of a society, or if you've had, you know, a part-time job, or you've been a carer or anything like that. You know, Sarah wants to hear all of those different experiences. So don't worry too much if you haven't done a placement. You will have some experience in something that Sarah and the early careers team want to know about. So just wanted to expand the experience a little bit.
Yeah, you know, that's a really good point, Carol, and I apologise if we have laboured the placement point a bit much, but yeah, that's a really good point. And I think this is the thing now, you know, as Sarah, as the recruiter, you know that, you know, the last few years has been hard for students to get placement. So I'm sure from your experience, you're wanting students to draw upon any extracurricular activities they've done, or again, you've said about upskilling yourself, learning a different coding language, being part of society is all really, really good to mention. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just going to say as well, we don't throughout our recruitment prep process, we focus more on potential and your strengths, as opposed to what experience you've had. And we know that not everyone has that opportunity to do a placement year. So we don't ask for CVs as part of the recruitment process, for example. So I guess it's more about actually, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? What are your strengths that you can then bring, and how you then bring that out throughout the recruitment process. So yeah, so I wouldn't want anyone to worry about that, because it's certainly not something that we kind of value over other things, if you like, that whether or not you've done a placement.
Yeah. Brilliant, perfect. No, I'm glad we said that, Carla. So Ruffy, going to come to you next. Same question. So a bit about your current role and your experiences so far.
Yeah, so I work as a software engineer in the DevOps Center of Excellence. So Center of Excellence is one of these sort of business terms, which basically means that my team work to set the standard for example, DevOps within the company. So instead of our clients being actual sort of retail customers who use our banks, our clients, our customers are the ones, sort of teams internally in the bank. So we go to other teams and sort of they say, we need some sort of help setting up some pipelines using Jenkins and some automation, and we'll come up with some ideas to sort of fit their needs. So it's sort of like consulting really internally, and it's not to scare some of the people who are more development minded like myself. Is it still a lot of development? I've just been given a really cool task recently, so I've got to learn Golang, if anyone's familiar. I've never learnt it, so that's a new adventure for me in the next couple of months. But yeah, I think I'm really excited to get sort of stuck in with my team. You know, the past 4 weeks that I've sort of been here has sort of, you know, as Jennifer said, like, you know, it's speaking to your team, getting sort of onboarded. You know, your manager already, or from the get-go, trusts you that they know that you're going to be able to sort of deliver the project, and it's sort of nice. And to echo what Carla said, you know, about the sort of not focusing on placement years as well. I did a placement year, but I did a lot of societies. I was involved with a lot of societies at university. So I was part of the esports society at my university, and I ran a couple of esports events which gave me sort of these soft skills that sort of helped me sort of bring it out. So I learned teamwork, I learned sort of communication, how to stick to budgets, schedules. And that's really helped me during the application process to Lloyds, and it's helping me to my day job. I'm amazing at sort of time allocation now. I'm always on time to meetings. But I'm sort of helping other sort of teams not necessarily in my scope. So I was speaking to one of my colleagues, and I'm going to help them run a hackathon later in the year, and that's something that my experience has sort of helped with. So it's really nice to sort of get involved around the company.
Yeah, brilliant. That's really, really interesting. So thanks, Rafi. Next, I'm going to talk about projects. So Holly, I'm going to come back to you if that's okay. And if you could tell the audience about a project that you've been involved in so far.
So the main project that I'm working on is called Diary Manager. So basically we're rewriting the digital appointment booking system in Lloyds for colleagues at the minute. So I've been coding some UI screens and then some tests and some Java stuff in the background. And it's really cool to see a project being made and then seeing it go to live. So we've got releases. We've got our first one next week, and then I'll see about 4 new releases at the time I'm here. So it's really cool to work on a project where you start right from the beginning and see it all through to the end. It's been so far really good to get involved with that.
That sounds really interesting. Sorry. I wonder if it happens to you, Carla, or is it just me?
I think it's just you.
If
it isn't Holly, just say it's just her.
Jordan, coming to you next. Project.
Yeah, so I'm working on an internal project that is based against a customer experience platform that is used by our agents on the telephone, so roughly 4,000 people using it. And its aim is to replace the old system that is now about 30 years old, and it takes a lot of time to service any customer and their needs. So what we're doing, we're reimagining how it would be better, quicker, and also it will do the work much more efficiently than the current system right now that the bank is using.
Brilliant. It sounds like quite a lot of responsibility from an outside looking in. For all your experiences so far. It sounds great. Jenny, going to come to you, projects that you've worked on so far.
Well, a lot of my stuff so far has been training, so I haven't had like a hands-on part of it just yet. I'm kind of shadowing at the moment because it's all new software to me. But I think the plan is that my next project will be to do with credit card disputes on fraud, because they work differently to debit cards. And I think from someone who's not from banking, that might sound really grey. But no, it's really interesting, like the kind of hoops they have to jump through and how they're making that automated and smarter rather than having someone click the same 3 buttons all the time. There's like a lot quicker ways to do it. So we're building the app to get that done. I think the main part of my last 5 weeks has been kind of side of desk projects as well, like Rafi was saying about hackathons and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. We're going to speak to Sarah a bit later on about, kind of the support that you all get as placement and graduates. But Jenny, you've mentioned about training, but, is there a bit of training that maybe you've received so far that is, been very useful, or if you could tell us a bit about the support that you've had from the graduate program so far?
Yeah, so emerging talent's been really, and that's kind of like, the people side of it, I guess, have been really hands-on with us from the get-go. So we were put in contact with our kind of, I call them grad managers, are David and Joe. And they're both lovely. And on your first week, you have a check-in at the beginning of the week, and then you have a check-in at the end of the week. And in between times, they've organized lots of calls to kind of get you familiar with processes, people, the business in general, like, what are our pillars and values and stuff like that, and getting everyone up to the same level and just comfortable with the environment that you're in, because I think that's a really important thing at first, because you might have moved away from home for the first time, you might not, you don't really know what you're doing sometimes, and you can just freely ask. They're very casual about it. You can ask them anything, like where's the best coffee shop, or I don't know how to turn my laptop on, or something. Like
That would be me.
they're literally there for anything. And then my manager's been really good. He met me on my first day, so he usually only comes in once a week, but the first week he came in 3 times to meet me at the office and make sure I was set up, show me where everything is. Been very hands-on with just kind of, if you have a question, ping him on Teams and he'll be back within 2 minutes, kind of thing. So there's a lot of support from a lot of different people, and our cohort especially, we're only 15, and not all of us are in London either, but we've kind of online and in person become each other's support as well. So if someone was struggling to set up their computer, someone else would be on the group being like, I had this earlier, here's the solution. And you kind of become self-serving as a group. But we've always had someone that we could ask, like Joe and David especially. They're my example anyway. They've been at Teams the whole time, ready to help us out.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Rufi, coming to you next, projects or even maybe training then that you've, a particular training experience you've had?
Yeah, so sort of in terms of projects, I've sort of been given the green light on sort of one of these projects that involves scraping GitHub sort of repositories for requirements files. So in layman's terms, it means seeing what these programs need in terms of software and dependencies and making sure that they are safe for use in the bank. So some of these JavaScript plugins may not be safe. It may have sort of vulnerable code that might sort of those vulnerabilities will be passed on to the customer, which we do not want. So we need to make them safe. So that's what I'm going to be helping with, to make sure that the software is safe. And in terms of training, I've really enjoyed, we've had a lot of training. I think one of the ones that I've really enjoyed is the inclusivity and diversity training that I've had. I think it's something that's overlooked at maybe in some companies, but it was one of the first things that we did at Lloyds, sort of stating that Lloyds, we are equal, we are fair, and we are out of the 15 grads, we are a multicultural bunch. We're very sort of I'm a mixed race myself, and it's nice to have so many people understand sort of me, and having these trainings as well. It's really lovely. So besides the technical training, we have the sort of human I&D training as well, which is really nice and quite refreshing at a bank.
Yeah, that is good. Again, it's nice that they can help to develop you in all aspects, personal, whether it be work, and you've got all those kind of resources to tap into and have that support, which is fantastic. I know we've kind of talked about projects, but Sarah, what advice would you give to a person starting at Lloyds, and how can they be successful?
Sorry, just coming off mute there. So to be honest, and I can give a kind of brief view on this, but I think we've got our graduates and our IPs here as well, so it'd be really interesting to hear from them as well in terms of anything else that they can think of. But I guess for me, just touching on the point that was just made there, so the culture at LBG is really open, it's a really welcoming one, and everyone's really encouraged, I guess, to be authentic and bring their whole selves to work. So so I guess just be yourself is probably the main thing that I would say. I think in terms of, I kind of touched on the recruitment process as well earlier, and what I'm about to say will apply for throughout the recruitment process, but also when you actually join the group as well. So think about what strengths you have, think about what you're good at, why you want to work for Lloyds, and I guess those points will help you throughout the recruitment process, like I said. But once you join the group, it's really helpful to keep these things in mind, because actually you're bringing in a fresh set of eyes to the group, and you're bringing in new and innovative ideas, and you'll have different thoughts and insights in terms of kind of coming into the group with a fresh set of eyes as well. So, and everyone is really open to hearing those new ideas and thoughts and things like that. So absolutely, don't be afraid to ask questions, be really inquisitive, be proactive, like we were saying earlier. And I guess be really open to the opportunities that come up, because as part of our graduate and our IP programs, I guess there's a lot of like it's been spoken about through here, there's a lot of training that's offered. You get to work with different teams and things like that. So take those opportunities and really kind of be open to anything that comes your way, really. So
I think it's key, isn't it, just to say yes to everything, because you might not know what you like and what you don't like. So when you are younger, looking back, you just need to say yes to it all, and then kind of work out where you want to be in the future.
Yeah, and we've had graduates before who they've maybe thought, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, or oh, I don't know if I'm able to do that, and actually they've turned out loving it, and actually at the end of the graduate programme, that's where they wanted to work. So I think that's the key, really, is to say yes to those opportunities, because you never know exactly how much you're going to love it, or and that's how you figure out where your strengths are as well, and what you're good at, where your preferences lie, I guess, in terms of your future career aspirations and things as well.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And I think we can link the grads and the IPs in now a little bit to the next question that we want to cover off. And it's just if a student's watching, first day, first moment as a placement student or as a graduate, what hints and tips or advice would you give to that person? And I'm going to come to you, Holly, from a student point of view.
First day, I would echo what Jordan said before, just about asking questions if there's anything that you want to know or confused about. Like, I was on a call, and when you first join, there's lots of acronyms and little phrases that I didn't know what they meant at all because it's in the business, but I would just message on the Teams chat to someone, be like, oh, what does this stand for? And then they would just fill me in. And so there's no stupid questions, basically. Even if it feels like, oh, I should know this, no one's gonna say you should. They're just gonna help and understand.
That's a good one, Holly. I think it's not just Jess who's got an echo. And I think looking back as well, when you are learning new stuff, you think at the time, you think, oh, I'll remember that acronym or whatever, but always write stuff down as well, so you can always refer back to your notes. I'm a big lover of pen and paper and writing stuff down. And Rufi, I'm going to come to you. So first moment as a graduate, any hints and tips?
Yeah, I think it'd be just communicate, like make sure that you talk to everyone. I think as sort of Jenny mentioned before, it's like, our managers, they might seem, we'll go into, I started online. So seeing all these names on these meetings, I didn't have a clue, who these people were. And my manager was saying, you should speak to these people. And I got a little bit overwhelmed because, it's a little bit intimidating, sort of, going into this big, scary company. You don't know anything. And you go to them and they're absolutely lovely. Everyone is exactly, as I would describe myself, a bit geeky. They've got like their little, they just love working at Lloyds. And that sort of mutual love of like technology is sort of, makes for like amazing conversation. And everyone is so helpful. So just communicate, just, have that sort of confidence to reach out is definitely crucial for like sort of success. And I've met so many wonderful people. Can't recommend it enough.
Oh, you can tell you're very happy with me. I like it.
Yeah.
Jenny, I'm going to come to a question to you now with a question. So you mentioned before about the rotations. So you do 3 8-month rotations. Can you choose which rotation you go on to next? Do you have a bit of a say in it, or is it all, you need to be going to X, Y, Z as your next stop? How does the rotations work? Jenny,
was that for me? Cool. Sorry. Yeah.
It was,
okay. Sorry, the audio cut a bit. So I think it's basically you have 3 8-month rotations. Your first rotation in our year, you didn't know where it was, but if you had a preference, like perhaps you already lived in London or Edinburgh or whatever, then you could kind of email them and they'd try their best to sit you where you want to be. And then it gets around to, I want to say about February, March-ish. And as far as I'm aware, they send you a list of basically business needs. And they say this team in this place needs a grad, this team in that place needs a grad, and you rank them, and then you send them back, and then again they try and fit you to what you want, but obviously there's a business need as well. And then I think your third placement, again a couple months before you start, it's kind of, that's like each placement you get more and more of a weighting towards what you want to do. So especially going back to that point about trying new things, like definitely do that, and talking to people, because you don't know where you'll end up. And there are way more opportunities. And I think it was Sarah was saying, it might be something you think, oh, on paper, no thank you, but actually when you start, you really love it. So just kind of take those opportunities. Don't think too deep into like the, oh, it's not the team I want, it's not this kind of thing, because a lot of the time you can make the most out of a situation that you might not have been hugely happy with, and then it becomes like one of the best experiences you've had. But yeah, with the rotations, it's basically, I think the further you go down the line, the more waiting it is for you. And then I think at the end of it, you apply, well, usually you'd apply to a job at that last off team or something, because that's the aim, is that you kind of hone in on a team that you want to work with.
Yeah, so after your graduate programme, then Sarah, you've come off mute. After your graduate programmes, then you apply to a position in an area that you might have been on rotation at. Is that right?
I believe so, but I'm not the expert.
No, I'm coming over to the expert, Sarah.
Yeah, that's fine. And I guess to be transparent, this is the 15 software engineering grads who have just joined us are the first ever cohort who have joined us. So I guess this is where we're really planning to work with you guys to understand, I guess, exactly what you said, Jenny. I think there's a combination of balancing individual graduates' career aspirations, their preferences in terms of the types of development that they want to get throughout their placements, and also what opportunities are available in the business for them to work with as well. So it's a case of kind of marrying the two together, if you like, and finding the best options for people. So yeah, absolutely. And then at the end of the programme, if there are opportunities available in the team that you work in, then absolutely, then go for that. And then obviously, if there are opportunities across the group and across other areas as well that would also be open to apply for too. So yeah, the world is your oyster.
The world is your oyster. And how does it work for students, Sarah? So Jordan and Holly, would if they wanted to come back as graduates, is that possible? Do they have to reapply for the jobs? How does that work?
There would be an assessment process, but given they will have been with us for a year by that point, the hope is that we bring people into an industrial placement, and the hope is that if everything's gone well there and they want to join us and we're comfortable as well and they pass the assessment process, then yeah, absolutely, there's an opportunity there to come back onto the graduate programme as well. So we've got quite a few of the industrial placement students who finished this summer who are coming back in 2022 to join us already as well, and that's wow. I think that's really positive for them too, because they're going back to university knowing that they've got something then to after their final years completed. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. And I'm staying with you, Sarah, for another couple of questions, if that's okay. So a student starting out at Lloyds, obviously it will hopefully have inspired them to get their applications in today. What support is on offer for students and graduates starting? And I want to cover off things like how we help with relocation and if you have like mentorship schemes and things like that there.
Yeah, so I think Jenny's covered some of these already, but I guess even before graduates or industrial placement students join us, they've got lots of engagement with our recruitment team, and that keeps them updated throughout their onboarding journey. We match up the incoming graduates and IPs with existing graduates and IPs as well, so that I guess they've got someone working within the group in the programme that they've applied for or that they're due to join, to ask questions to around actually what is it you do day to day, and just a bit more of an informal relationship and a kind of view on the ground, if you like, from people that are doing what they're going to be doing when they join. We've got, I guess there's that relationship with their placement manager that Jenny mentioned as well. So before they join, they get put in touch with their placement manager so they can start to build that relationship even before day one. There's also other things like, for example, we add all of our graduates across all programmes onto a Facebook group, so they've got that opportunity to network across different programmes as well as the one that they're joining, and kind of find out who's going to be based where, and kind of arrange meetups and things like that if they wanted to as well. I guess there's also other things. So for example, we run sort of onboarding events and sort of welcome events, if you like. So if they join in the September, they'll come and be invited to an event over the summer to get to know people and learn a little bit more detail about the programme and things like that as well. I guess in terms of support when they join us, I think we've touched on a few of these already, but there's a lot of things in place across I guess not just when they join, but throughout the programme as well. So we've got we call it Welcome Week. So they join in the first week. We make sure they're set up from an IT perspective. They can get to know their team and do some of those introductions. And then in the second week, we run Welcome Week, which is a series of different sessions which introduce them to things like the group strategy, the diversity networks, and some of the kind of activities that are going on across the group. And I think the other key thing is as well, and it touches on one of the points that we spoke about earlier, that not everyone who joins us has worked within this type of environment before. So some of the activities and the training and things that we give to graduates and IPs when they join is just, it kind of goes back to some of the basics, even in terms of how to work Outlook, how to work Microsoft Teams, and how to create a really good PowerPoint slide and things like that. So from a graduate perspective, we've got a graduate development journey, which for both of you on the call will kind of kick off formally from January, but there's a number of classroom-based sessions where you can understand yourself, understand how you work and how you can work in relation to other people, and it kind of develops through different topics throughout the programme as well across the 2 years. And then when it comes towards the end of the programme, there's a lot around CV writing, or how to do a good interview and those types of things to support, I guess, with the different elements at the right points in time throughout the programme. And in terms of the software engineering and data science, we spoke about training. So for both of these programs, the graduates go through a boot camp. So for data science, they will do initially the first 7 or 8 weeks is solid boot camp training, where I guess it gives them a really good understanding of the tools, the models, the languages and things like that are used across LBG, but it provides them with that solid foundation where it kind of puts everyone onto the same level that they can then build on throughout their practical experience that they gain throughout the programme. So yeah, and then in terms of relocation and support and things like that, I guess, like we spoke about the placement process and sort of matching up opportunities to career aspirations and things like that. And there's a lot of support there in terms of whether that's practical support in terms of moving, or whether that's just linking you in with your line manager to have that adult conversation about actually, do I need to relocate for this placement, or could I work remotely for this placement? And I guess that's kind of a one-to-one conversation that we try to give that autonomy to the graduates and the line managers to have, and I guess allow them to make the most out of the placement and use the opportunity to gain as much experience and sort of knowledge as possible.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's definitely something that's come out through this whole webinar is, ask questions, make sure you have these conversations. There's no point in just sitting there quietly and, being confused or being uncertain about things. So I think that's a bit of a theme, isn't it, that's run throughout the webinar. So thank you very much, Sarah. What I want to do now is just go back to the IPs and to the grads and just cover the future. I know it's scary because you've only been there 5 weeks, but you're back to the university, Jordan and Holly, but if you could have a dream, where would your future go? And I'm starting with you, Jordan.
My future is bound to be in Lloyds. I see myself. Jokes aside, but yes, I hope that the next 8 months of my placement will help me to excel my skills even further, and after that, it will prepare me for university to graduate successfully, and hopefully, I'll be able to come back and to develop myself even further, because I believe that it has much more to give me.
And you've forgotten something, Jordan. So in a couple of years' time, we're going to be doing another webinar as you as a graduate.
Yeah.
That is obviously the dream.
This is what I'm looking forward to.
Thanks, Jordan. And Holly, on to you. Future dreams and aspirations.
Yeah, like Jordan, I'm hoping to apply to the grad scheme after graduating. And hopefully explore different areas of Lloyds, because in group translation there's so many different projects to work on. So going around and getting a taste of all those would be a great opportunity to come back.
Yeah, definitely. Just make sure you get your little finger on that button is just so quick. Just get as much experience as you can. Thank you, Holly. Jenny, on to you.
Long term, I'm not really sure. So I kind of applied for a software engineering role, but as you know, I didn't really have a background in it. I just kind of knew I liked coding and I wanted to pursue that. So it's quite good because the first placement we're on is actually within kind of centers of excellence, as Ruffy mentioned, and they've basically told us that this 8-month section will be learning as much as you can about as many things as you can throughout the entire business, and the next 2 placements are kind of you're directly in a value stream. So I guess the future for me would be like the next 7 months of kind of trying to absorb as much as possible, because software engineering isn't just coding. Like there's so much more to it. There's like delivery management and stuff like that, testing and all that. So just kind of trying out as much as possible in the next 7 months or so, and then I'll get back to you because I don't know at this point.
No, I think 7 months is enough though, Jenny, to have your career planned out. And Rafi, last but not least.
Yeah, so I'd like to become Google Cloud Platform certified. That's something I've sort of started training for over the past couple of weeks, but I'd like to get certified, get the certificate added to my collection. But in my next placement, I would love to sort of, my aim, my hope, my dream for the next couple of years is to work on the iOS side of things, and work on the Lloyd's iPhone app and sort of improve that over time as well. So, you know, so use the training that we've got and sort of transition over there. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Well, best of luck everybody for your future. Sarah, on to you. Can we just talk about, we can talk about your dreams if you like, but I was going to cover off the application process.
Yeah, no worry at all. No worries. Yeah, so I guess the application process, it's there's a few stages to it. The first one is where you would do an application, an online assessment. So I guess the online assessment gives you a bit of insight into Lloyds Banking Group, an understanding of kind of how we support our customers and the wider communities as well, because that's a really key thing within Lloyds. I think that usually takes about an hour and a half, something like that, to complete the whole thing. Okay. We then have, for software engineering and data science programs in both graduates and industrial placements, and we've got that coding test that I spoke about earlier on. If you click onto the GradCracker site into the hub and then go through to our website, there are things like practice tests and stuff on there as well. So it's not just throwing you in at the deep end and sort of saying you're expected to do this. There are kind of practice tests on there as well, which can kind of give you an idea of what to expect. If you're successful at the online assessment and the coding test, you would then go through to our job insight assessment stage. And that's essentially where it allows you to kind of understand the activities and the types of projects that you might get involved with as a graduate. So it's kind of using some examples of true to life situations and asking you to solve problems and things like that. So we've had our software engineering teams and our data science teams involved in creating those to make sure that it's obviously not a real life project as such, but that it's using the kind of real life types of situations that you would see if you were working in the group as a graduate. And if you're successful at that stage, you would then go to an assessment centre, which we touched on earlier, which is essentially a full day virtual assessment centre. It's done via Microsoft Teams, so it's all virtual. You don't have to sort of travel anywhere for it. There's a lot of activities throughout the day, so you would do a sort of technical one where you would look at more of that coding and the modelling and things like that, depending on if it's data science or software engineering. And then there's a lot of activities, so for example, group exercises, an interview, some kind of smaller, short and quick exercises as well. So it's quite an enjoyable day actually. It's quite varied as well, which means that I think it goes really quickly for people when they're going through it. So, and then obviously if you're successful at that, you would be made your offer and join us in September next year, or the end of June if it's an industrial placement. Yeah, so end of June, September, dates to remember. And don't forget what Sarah said at the beginning of the webinar as well. So anybody who has achieved or is expected to achieve a 2-1 or above, and then you can apply to Lloyds Banking Group. All STEM students, look back at Jenny's story and what she did at university. It's all relevant. So for now, I'd like to say thank you everybody for joining us on the webinar today. It's been really interesting. Next week, me and Jess are joined next Thursday, 2 o'clock by GSK, good friends of GradCrackers as well. But for now, thank you very much, Lloyds. Get your applications in, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.